performing individual arts. She discovered dancing. At
Her
first,
business.
she wasn't as interested in dancing as she was in theater.
Understand?
She signed up for classes only because she had to declare a secondary course of study at HSPPA.
So don't read anymore.
She fell in love with it, and by the spring of her freshman year, she made up her mind to become a professional dancer. She took a job at the Carrefour, located at the opposite end of the ice rink,
I'll tell you
to raise
right
money to move to New York. So instead of seeing her hanging around school, now I'd see her going to and from work. A new sense
We're leaving
of
Carcass.
and
I had a dream.
casually
We're in our Toyota, driving down to our bombed out apartment.
I still have my too.
We go into the kitchen
And I trade
and find that the cupboards are undamaged. The table is broken.
When all the sweat, tears, and effort.
I start filming it. Suddenly there's a missile flying toward the neighboring building. I can't talk. That's where the dream ended. There was artillery fire this morning. The internet was cut off at 6 a.m. Because of the air raids, people are starting to panic buy, emptying the shops of food. Granny and I want to leave Kharkiv for western Ukraine, farther from the border. We called everyone we know to figure out how we could do this. They're saying we should stay put for now. Many of my schoolmates are going to Dnipro or Poltava first, and on to western Ukraine from there. Ina saw many cars leaving the city. They had the word children written on every side. They're saying that the trains evacuating people have had the seats taken out. 30 to 40 hours standing up, we decided we'd stay in Kharkiv for now. But then after thinking it through, we realized that we should go to Lviv, because there's a scary rumor that the Russians could start purging Kharkiv of all resistance by obliterating it with bombs in a few days. I spent half the day trying to call a taxi company, but every time they pick up, we'd get cut off. Mom kept sending us phone numbers for drivers in Kharkiv, but none of them were picking up. I did get through to someone who agreed to take us to the train station, but he could only do it in a couple of days. Another company picked up, but we got cut off again. I sent more messages to Mom and Dad asking for help, but they're not going through. I fell into a depression. All I could think was, we're doomed. I'm scared. I'd stopped talking and my face like it would never smile again. Then I thought I'd get back to painting my Gabchinska angel, which made me feel better. I'm not losing hope. I keep praying that we'll leave for Lviv or even get out of the country. We shall do, and shall continue doing, everything we possibly can. We're under curfew right now, so we can't go to the southern train station. We kept hoping and praying to leave the city, but then, suddenly, we had a bit of luck. Ina's daughter, Lukia, sent us the phone numbers for 2 Red Cross volunteers. We only managed to reach one of them, who agreed to pick us up in 15 minutes and take us to Dnipro, about 140 miles southwest where Ina's family lives. Oh joy. We gathered our things and went to stand on the street to wait for the car. I had to leave my painting of the angel behind. Pity. I never got to finish a part of its dress. At first, Ina said she didn't want to come with us to Dnipro, and only came along to see us off, but when she saw the smoke from all the shelling, she changed her mind. She ran back into the house to look for her passport and told us not to.
Once again, I faced the question. What did I want to be? Who was Patrick Swayze? And what did he have to
wait for her? She didn't want us to miss our ride. Granny and I heard the sound of explosions. We didn't know if the car would be able to find its way to us or not. We were very nervous and kept asking God for help. We got a call from the volunteers. I told her and Ola, but Ina was still in the house. I don't know how to give them directions, but then I saw a Volkswagen with a Red Cross on it, and I knew it was them. We got in the car at 4:50. Granny asked them to go around the corner so that we could say goodbye to Ina, But then there she was, running toward us. She decided to go with us to Dnipro after all. She didn't take anything with her, just her passport, which is what she'd run back for. We set off. We passed 12 checkpoints on our way. As we got closer to Dnipro, there was a huge line of cars, several miles long, trying to get into the city. It got dark and started raining. We entered the city. It was quiet there, so my ears were happy. The buildings were undamaged, a peaceful sky. What else could you ask for? We thanked Todor and Oleg for taking us to a safe place. They said there was no need to pay them, and we said our goodbyes. We met up with Ina's family. I felt happy. There was a beautiful park just across the road behind us. We went into the apartment and told everyone about what we'd been through. It took me a while to relax. We still want to get to Western Ukraine, but we'll think about that tomorrow. For now, we just want to enjoy a peaceful night here with Ina's family.
It felt like an electric charge suddenly coursed through my mind. I looked into Lisa's eyes, and it was as if I was seeing her for the first time. We moved together as one, and I felt a stirring in my soul.
This is from
It was a fleeting moment,
Putin, a biography
but after the dance was done,
by Philip Short.
afraid that the feelings,
It's from the last chapter, the end game.
not long after that, were paired up to
But
begin another dance.
there was
Threatening to make it embarrassingly
evidently more to it than that. Putin himself had admitted a few months earlier that the state could have continued to finance the pension fund deficit for another 7 or 10 years before the strain became intolerable. In that case, why was it so essential to act in 2018?
Well, you can imagine the effect this had.
Officially, the government was being far-sighted, biting the bullet early and taking a difficult choice for the common good. But some suspected that there might be another reason. Leonid Bershidsky, the founding editor of Vedomosti, wondered if Putin was now doing his potential chosen successor a favor by taking the heat for an extremely unpopular but necessary move. Putin seemed to be clearing the decks to smooth the path for a possible transition while at the same time keeping his options open, taking advantage of the momentum from his re-election to push through an unavoidable measure, which would be far more difficult later on, whether he continued as president or not. Putin's next move was easier to decipher. In December 2018, the Speaker of the Duma, Vyacheslav Volodin, proposed a review of the Constitution. Volodin, a solidly built man in his mid-50s with short graying hair, had earlier served as first deputy head of the presidential administration. The Americans regarded him as one of Putin's prodigies. Shrewd, ambitious, and sycophantic, he had coined the slogan, "No Putin, no Russia." At first, no one paid much attention to Volodin's proposal. It was known that Putin was devoted, as one Russian journalist harshly commented, to the letter of the law, if not quite as much to the spirit, and that he had repeatedly ruled out amending the Constitution to
As my time at San Jacinto drew to a close, it looked as if I might not even get a chance to try. As I was mulling over
retain power beyond his current term.
invitations to join the
6 months later, however, Volodin returned to the charge with a long article in which he suggested targeted adjustments to improve the balance between the legislative and executive branches, by which he meant that Parliament should have a bigger say in ministerial appointments.
Prince Charming.
Whether or not Putin directly inspired Volodin's initiatives or simply made use of them, the question of amending the Constitution was now clearly on the agenda. In December, at his annual news conference, a planted question from a member of the Kremlin press pool gave him an opportunity to express his view. The underlying principles of the Constitution should not be changed, Putin said, but other provisions could perhaps be amended, including those relating to the separation of powers. That was suitably vague. A former aide notably dryly that Putin was, as usual, giving him the widest possible latitude statute for future moves on the political chessboard, and in the end it turned out to be a red herring. But another remark was more revealing. The word consecutive. In the clause stating that the president should not serve more than 2 consecutive terms might be removed, he suggested he himself would not be affected because the change would apply only from time it was enacted. Well, it would mean that after he stepped down, future presidents would be limited to 2 6-year terms. It was the first clue that the constitutional changes under discussion were being made with the post-Putin period in mind.
For one thing, my knee kept blowing up after each
On January 15, 2020, in an address to a joint session of Parliament, Putin put forward additional proposals. The president, he said, should have the right to dismiss federal and Supreme Court judges. The Russian Constitution should take precedence over international law, which would mean that the Russians could no longer appeal to the European Court of Human Rights. No one could stand it as a candidate for the presidency if they had ever held foreign citizenship or a foreign residency permit, which would bar immigrants like Mikhail Khodorkovsky.
People started realizing he was really egotistical, just insecure. And after a while, they started to accept and even be friendly. I ended up making a ton